Obviously excited about the weekend here of sports ahead of us. And as an individual, in an individual sense, Barcelona is playing extremely well right now, so that's exciting. The Lakers are playing very, very, very well right now, so that's been fun to watch. Big game tomorrow
Mm-hmm.
up in Boston, so I'll be excited for that. Just yeah, all my teams are performing well, so that keeps me in good spirits. The weather's starting to change up. Hopefully, get back warmer, and that's usually a so like today was nice, and I like good weather days, so I'm feeling well.
Dude.
I'm feeling good. I'm hoping that the listeners and everybody can hear me pretty well.
Yes, yes. After the other night, I mean, we were rolling, dude. We thought we were doing fantastic, and then we go back and listen to the show, and it was just gibberish. So, Derby City Gaming, we're coming back. If you couldn't tell where we were, Derby City Gaming, still a great place to check out the game. They have some great specials going on. The main one that me and Roman were locked in though on was 8 wings and a draft beer for $15. That's a pretty good deal.
Yeah, it's a
So
great deal. Most places in that are selling wings will charge you $15 for 8 wings by themselves. So
hmm. Yeah, in this economy, can't beat that.
a lot of
But
March Madness deals down at Derby City. If you guys want to, have a place to just go watch some games, draft beers, play some games, get some cash sports bets in, it's your place. Good March Madness deals right now.
yep, yep. For whatever reason, by the way, looks like the title came through as Louisville Cal preview live from Derby City Gaming. We are not talking Louisville Cal. We are talking Louisville Stanford. I mean, we could talk Louisville Cal.
Did the job, got the job done.
Got the job done. No Rain Smith. I love Pat Kelsey's answer today in his press conference. One of the first questions, and he knew it was coming. You have to know it's coming. What's Rain Smith's status? He's day to day. We'll see what happens, which, every coach that's not in the SEC is going to say that, right? But then the next question, the natural question from the media is, essentially, what's this team going to look like? Where do you go to? What's the answer if Rain isn't there? And Kelsey just says, well, Rain Smith went out with 12 minutes, 11 seconds left in the first half. And for the rest of the game, we played without him. So it's going to look a hell of a lot like that.
Yeah.
Which is a fantastic answer. I like that he's getting comfortable with the media, that he can say stuff like that. We got that with Chris Mack. We got that a lot with Rick Pitino, obviously. Not as much with KP. He was just saying just weird,
He didn't know what he was
irrelevant.
talking about.
No. Yeah. So I mean, let's dive in though. I mean, like you're just moving back to Wednesday night, right? Just really quickly. What were your instant takeaways? Obviously, I mean, the team is really, really thin if you don't have Rain Smith. I mean, it's a pretty thin team as is, but still found a way to basically dominate the game. And I mean, it felt like the only thing that kept Cal in it was that they were hitting, a lot of shots in the second half.
Yeah, I think that we had a great game plan at the end of the day. I felt like Pat Kelsey was prepared for what he was going to see. You held their leading scorer in Andrei Stojakovic, 17.8 point per game score to his season low, 4 points. Mm-hmm. And you just put yourself in a defensive situation where the guys that you wanted from Cal to be taking the shots were taking the shots. Deeper threes from the not as good shooters and stuff of that nature. And then on the offensive side for us, when you've got a player like Terrence Edwards who's unconscious like that, feed the hot hand. Feed the hot hand. Run your sets through him. A couple of sets that looked like they would have been kind of like plays to get Rain open that clearly running for Terrence. So, you just fed the hot hand. I think Chucky Hepburn had an underrated great game as well.
Yeah.
Was in great control after just a couple sloppy performances. Not performances, a couple of sloppy segments of games he's had and as of late when Louisville has a lead. I felt like Chucky just was in full control on the offensive end this past game against Cal. But what were you thinking?
Yeah, man, it was kind of an odd game, right? Like, so it's a 9:00 game, so it's just a weird environment in general. It's an ACC game against, your first real ACC game against a West Coast team. So that's an odd first experience, right? Cal's coaching staff was entertaining as hell to watch. The whole, when we had the technical situation, the coach running out on the floor, from our perspective, we thought that like he was going after the ref or or who was it? Terrence Edwards that got in the from our perspective, it looked like he was like going to get it, like start scrapping with Terrence a little bit. So that was interesting. The game itself was odd, right? Like it was not what you've come to expect from this team, but yet again, just kind of finding a way to win. It's become very apparent at this point that the way that most well-coached teams are going to try to beat Louisville is to slow it down a little bit, try not to turn the ball over, and be very aggressive. Muck it up. If you get Louisville in foul trouble, you can cause some real legitimate issues. Like if you can get Chucky Hepburn, Terrence Edwards, Rain Smith, James Scott, like get one of those guys in foul trouble, and you can cause a lot of issues for Louisville. So that was interesting to see a very, very aggressive game.
Yeah.
Cal like really tried to take it to them, but ultimately while this isn't a Louisville team that plays aggressively, they are a veteran team. And they're a team that is willing to play tough, right? Like they're willing to take it to you as well. So that was something that was interesting for me to see. And then the lineups, without Rain Smith, what do you turn to, right? Because all of a sudden, if Rain is out, then you're, instead of being super thin up front, you're really thin at guard. I mean, basically you just have Fat and Chucky, and that's it. And so the adjustment obviously is when Fat or Chucky goes out, then it's Javon Hadley probably at the 2, right? And so then the adjustment is who do you slide in the front court, and it was Noah Waterman, Kenai Roos, Kader Traore, right? So that's why you build this team the way you built it, right? So when you talk about the attrition that this team's been through, so you start with Allie and Kobe being out for the season. Corin Johnson's out after the second game. Kason Pryor's out for the season after the seventh game. That's 4 of your 13 scholarship players right there out for the season. Then you have Kader out for 2 months. Then you have Chucky that gets hurt and he's out. You have Rain now injured. You had James Scott injured and playing injured. Like it's just been just the season of attrition. And Louisville has just fought through this over and over and over and over again. And it's such a testament to the mentality of this team, of the coaching staff, everybody involved with this program. You cannot give them enough kudos, enough props. And I think, as much as we talk about it, it still kind of feels like an underrated storyline that they're doing this, that you were going to come in second place, most likely in the ACC, get a 2 seed in the ACC, only finish the season with 2 losses. Louisville and Duke and Clemson are going to far surpass the most conference wins in a regular season in ACC history. Like all of that's going to happen with Pat Kelsey in his first season, with attrition
brand
across the roster. Yeah, it's just you can't say enough about what this team has been through and how they've just continued to battle through it. And this was just another example of that against Cal, right? Like we don't know what's going to happen with Rain Smith going forward, but I still have this, a sense of confidence in not only what this coaching staff, but what this team and what they've assembled and what they built can do. Not
only that, I have confidence in every single person involved being bought into what Pat Kelsey wants.
Absolutely.
The 25 strong, the power of the unit. Mm-hmm. I believe that. I didn't question it at the beginning of the year. I wondered how strong it would actually be of a presence. And at this point, I have no questions about that. I'm no wondering at all about that. And it's apparent everybody a part of the roster, coaches, coaching staff, walk-ons, the guys who play a little bit lesser, everyone's bought into what's trying to happen here, especially being rooted on the defensive end. So that's what's going to be the determining factor, like he said in the presser today, how far we can go, just how many guys we can get to defend at a high level. And one thing I saw last night, just to kind of bounce around,
circle back. Oh yeah, we're good.
Was and not last night, 2 nights ago.
2 nights ago,
when Rain was not on the floor, which was 70% of the rest of the game
mm-hmm.
after he went out. The way one thing I will worry about tomorrow, because of what I saw last night, was the way that we're going to get defended off the ball with our bigs now. Not necessarily our bigs, but the Noah Watermans, Abubakar Traore. There's only 2 guys you have to stay glued to now versus 3. When Rain's out there and you can't really sag off Terrence, Chucky, or Rain, right, that kind of changes things because at least one of them is always moving off the ball. Now when you've got so much time of Terrence Edwards and Chucky Hepburn are going to be spending out on the perimeter, and those two guys being the only two you get to sag, you stay glued to off the ball.
Sure.
You're going to sag off everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
And I just worry about how we'll be able to create offense in the interior, how much we're going to settle for jump shots because that's what we're going to receive, and our best jump shooter not being out there. Hopefully, it's a true day-to-day thing, and he will kind of be able to give it a go tomorrow. But it's also Stanford. This is the team you should be able to beat without Rain Smith. Arguably, I hate to even say that, but
right.
If he's not 100%, he's too important to risk making that 70% range be back down to below 50% range because you went out there and let him try it against Stanford and he rolled it again or something. Excuse me, but yeah, I just think that what I saw of James Scott's man, Abubakar Traore's man, Kenai Roof's man, when Terrence or Chucky drove to the basket, they were able to collapse. That's why the lob would be there for 1 to 2 seconds and the lob would be gone. After that, we weren't able to find the lob and the good timing for it.
Yeah.
I just think that his gravitational pull as a shooter, you have to stay glued to at all times, could potentially make things tougher for our ball handlers going forward. But we'll just have to see.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing again, it's underrated what Rain Smith's presence means specifically because he knows this system so well. He's the guy that. Like Rain has absolutely been kind of a glue guy for this team that when he came in, James Scott to an extent, right? Probably even Kobe Rogers, right? Like these guys help the rest of the team assimilate and learn Kelsey and the staff's system, learn what their expectations are. And Rain Smith has done that, but he also, like I said, he knows the system, he knows the expectations, he knows the game as a whole, like the back of his hand. And I think that that's noticeable when he's not on the floor for extended minutes because he's a guy that he knows where everybody else is supposed to be, number one. Number two, he does not turn the ball over ever. Number three, he's an underrated presence on defense because, again, he knows where he's supposed to be, especially when it matters the most. And he makes a lot of great plays. Like he has solid hands. He has quick feet. I don't want to oversell him as an athlete or an overall contributor, but I think it's understated. He's just seen as this guy that is just a 3-point shooting machine. And I just think that he's so much more than that. And that's what makes him such a great shooter, right? Like he's that good because he has it in his bag to do a lot of different things to get open as well.
Full understanding of this offense, full understanding of where he's supposed to be, who's supposed to be screening for him, when they're supposed to be screening for him. He kind of will direct his screener sometimes. He'll tell James, he'll be off the ball calling for a screen. That's just not something you see from a lot of people, kind of directing traffic off the ball on offense. And I think that, like you just said, it's having somebody out there on the offensive end you don't have to worry about at all. And that's not saying like now you're adding it's more minutes of people you do have to worry about. It's more minutes of people who aren't the same shooter, don't get the same attention from the defense, and don't have the same understanding of just how to move off the ball in this Pat Kelsey system. Granted, Rain Smith is our most important off-ball mover, but still, it's just that's minutes that he's not out there. That you have to have somebody who isn't the same level of an attention grabber from the defense.
Yeah. You were absolutely right. And look, I mean, going into this final, I mean, we're here, dude. Like this is the time of year that this is what you dream of.
Yeah.
The entire season.
We're back to this time of year and it being an important and exciting thing.
Yeah. I mean, and it, in a sense, it hurts to say, right, that it's been this long. Like it was pre-COVID since the last time we had this sense of belonging that is March, right? Like we've been left out of this. There were 2 times, I think we don't talk about this a lot either. There were 2 times where we thought that Louisville had a really, really good chance of getting in, and they were the first team left out on Selection Sunday.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that Louisville's firmly in, right? Like they can lose to Stanford and then go in the first round of the ACC tournament and lose to, what is it? North Carolina, Clemson. I'm trying to think of who they played. Maybe the Stanford team, right? Like regardless, they could go into the NCAA tournament or the ACC tournament and lose, right? But you haven't even been in that position. in so long. And, I think it's understated what that 2019-20 team meant for sure. But the reality is it's been 6 good, solid, long, heartbreaking, painful years, including the last 2 that were so unspeakably bad that I think most of us have erased most of it from our memories forever, right? It's been almost traumatizing as a sports fan. You want to, it's been a hard couple of weeks for me at work. What I want to do when I get off work, Roman, is do something that I enjoy. Take my brain away from the hard parts of life and just enjoy something for 2 hours.
Yeah.
I want to enjoy the camaraderie. I want to hang out with my guys. I want to watch the game. I want to, enjoy the spirit.
Be excited about figuring out if my predictions are going to be right.
Yeah. I want to enjoy the spirit of March. I want to play some parlays. I want to have fun. This is what we don't have any entitlement here, right? But this is what we work for. This is the fun times. This is like what we've been waiting for so long. And now that it's here, now that it's officially official, right? That Louisville is going to be a top 4 seed in the ACC tournament, a top 3 seed in the ACC tournament. They're going to be, a legitimately seeded team in the NCAA tournament. They are going to be a team that is hunted and not one of the hunters. They are firmly, squarely in the tournament, regardless of what happens going forward. And we haven't been able to say that for so long, right? And I don't want to take it for granted. I don't want to take how special this team is, Roman, for granted.
Yeah.
Because
I was thinking about that earlier. Just in the grand scheme of what this senior day means to the fans tomorrow. When's the last time you cared about the senior day is supposed to be a sad but yet exciting thing because you're excited that you're such skilled seniors who have taken you to an exciting time of March and hopeful NCAA tournament basketball are going to be leaving. We haven't had that. We haven't had players who are sad or leaving because of what they've done for us in March. And we're back to that. We're back to not being able or having to force our brains to not think about next year because of the sadness of not having a Javon Hadley and a Chucky Hepburn or a Terrence Edwards or a Rain Smith. Not the sadness, but the fear of how good this is and the unknown and uncertainty of which next year will be because of how many seniors we currently have. That's a good problem to have.
Absolutely.
That's an exciting thing. And it's going to be sad tomorrow after the game when we recognize them and what they've done for us and how they've been our revivers as fans. They've done that for us. We're back to being that kind of a team again. With this kind of small little thing like senior day, something you don't really think about until the week comes, is a sad thing because of how exciting this next month of basketball could potentially be for us.
Yeah, and look, I'm the kind of guy that, we spend so much time thinking and talking about and pondering over and for me writing about and talking about these Louisville teams, right? And I'm the kind of guy last year, when I realized that the season was over, as much as the team freaking sucked and I just wanted a fresh start, I was sad to have the feeling that, Brandon Huntley Hatfield was probably going to be gone. The feeling that Sky Clark was going to be gone. It freaking sucked, but we sat there alongside of them. I'd say a huge portion of this fan base, most of the people listening right now, sat there alongside of them and suffered with them.
Yeah, it's not. I didn't mean to downplay. The players who were here for sure because I love Sky Clark. I enjoyed how the effort I saw LL is putting in that beginning of that first half of that season.
Right.
It still wasn't the same as what this. It doesn't matter. It doesn't compare to it. The way we were able to feel about that is not even in the same tier as this.
Right. And that was kind of what I was, leading up to a little bit was, I will always be sad to see guys go. But even though it was only 1 year for they're honoring 5, 6, 7 guys, right? Even though it was 1 year, for instance, for Kader Traore, he only played half the season. And he's going to be a guy that's sorely missed. A guy that we very much enjoyed watching. Terrence Edwards, the growth that you've seen this season. Chucky Hepburn, obviously, speaks for itself. Rain Smith speaks for itself, right?
Terrence Edwards was saying things about this team before we even had reason to think it as fans.
Right.
This team's going to change things. This team's here to win. This team's here to play in March. This team has championship aspirations. He was saying all that stuff before the Bahamas. So the fact that he's gotten to make it real and make it true, gosh, Press.
They knew this was special, man. They knew this was special. And, when Pat Kelsey talks about this team, he talks often about his past teams, both at Winthrop and College of Charleston. But there's definitely something different here, right? There's something different, maybe not the athleticism or the overall talent among the team. Those should have improved as he steps up to Louisville, right? But the team camaraderie, the leadership, the way that this team plays together. The story after the Cal game, right, of Pat Kelsey talking about that Terrence had 29 points. The situation happens where, there's a foul called or a technical foul called, and he always sends, if it's not Rain, then the next up is going to be Chucky. He's going to send Chucky to the line. And Chucky said, no, I'm not shooting those. Let that get 30. Like, that's 2 games in a row. Chucky passed up a chance to get 40 points by passing it off for a dunk for another player, right?
Yeah.
He said Javon was having a bad game. Like, he wasn't having a game like he was playing like himself. Let him get his. Let him have that moment. I want to share in this moment with my teammates. Same thing, not to get sentimental, but I mean, who does that? Chucky Hepburn does that. That's a leader right there. And you have a team full of
epitome. That's the epitome of power of the unit.
Right. That's it. That's it right there. I mean, and look, it's a player-led team, right? Like, we have seen just the camaraderie among the team. The coaches meet themselves. They have their own powwow, and the team meets by themselves. It's player-led. They're talking each other through what they're seeing on the court, and that's invaluable. Like, that is like what LeBron does with his teammates, right? Like, that is what true, real, genuine leaders do. That's what great players do, is they make everybody else around them better. And collectively, everybody on this, they're outside of Noah Waterman, there's not a single player on this team that's having the same or worse year than they have for the rest of their career coming in.
I'd argue Noah Waterman is defending and rebounding at a higher level than he has before.
Yeah, let's talk about Noah real fast. I mean, like, I know we're kind of all over the place, and we'll get to Stanford here in a second, but Noah, I mean, he just played his best game of the season. I don't care about point. I don't even want to look at the stat sheet, right? Like, that was the best game he played all season. He locked down, the opposing team's best players, plural, right? Like, he was a menace defensively. He was a beast on the boards. He was shooting confidently. He was doing the things that we've been asking him to do. And I think that the injury to Rain and Noah being forced to play a bigger role was huge for him. Like, that's the confidence boost that he needed. We've been talking about that for weeks, right, Roman? Like, that he could be the X factor on this team. He could absolutely be needed. And when you lose Case and Pryor, when you lose the kind of the player that the opposing team loves to hate, right? Like, Case and Pryor would have been that guy. Like, we go in the first round, we're playing, I'm trying to think, like, Mississippi State in the first round. Case and Pryor is a team that Mississippi State fans would talk about for 10 years because they hate him that much. And Noah Waterman now needs to step into that role a little bit, right? Like, he's got a little bit of that in him.
He tried to right at the beginning of the year when he was, playing a little bit more. Shooting better. It wasn't good, but it was better than what it was before the last 3 or so games. When he's actually, I can't even say that. It was all right, and then it got bad pretty quick. But he kind of tried to play that role, and I think a little bit of that role is he's trying to be high energy on the glass. He's trying to be high energy on his interior defense. We know he knows he can't swing his feet, move his feet on the perimeter, but he's trying to do whatever he can to make up for his lack of shooting and being the thing that he came in here to do. He hasn't been doing well, so he's tried to make up for it in every other facet. That's all you can ask for. An experienced player like him. I would like to see the confidence even raised more because we saw the EKU game. We saw the
Mm-hmm.
Florida State game. We know you can put 15 points up on the board. I know your
Mm-hmm.
career high is 24 points last year at
Mm-hmm.
BYU.
Yeah,
He has the ability to be that X factor for us, even with rain.
Yeah, it's
So
absolutely possible. And look, if he becomes a guy that needs to be respected as a 3-point shooter, that is a game changer, right? I mean, and you never know what's going to happen with rain. Like, things could not heal up like we're expecting, and it's you never know. You never know. Somebody else could get hurt. Some unforeseen situation could happen. Somebody could get in foul trouble, and you just got to run with like 6 guys, right? Like, you just don't know what's going to happen, Roman. And so I've said it since Kaysen went out, and especially since Noah has kind of come back, and the thumb brace starts coming, the thumb tape starts coming off, and you just want to see him start to return to form. You want to see him become the player that he's absolutely capable of being, because we've seen glimpses of it, and I think the closest to what we think he could be, probably since the Indiana game, was this week against Cal. And I want to see that continue against Stanford, right? Like, and especially on the shooting side of things. Again, if he can keep things up, play at the same level that he's playing all over the court, and be knocking down shots, then he becomes a serious threat for any opponent. And that's, as a Louisville fan, you should be crazy excited about that.
100%. I'm excited for it. I think having one more home game after a performance like that on a night that he'll get honored as well will be huge. So hopefully we can get him going, get him right before this ACC tournament starts. Having the ACC tournament as well, I think, will be big for us. For him to have some, they're games where it's loser, win or go home, but they're not season-ending games. So there's in a way, I hate to act like it's not a priority to win the ACC tournament. It is a priority to go get right in this ACC tournament. Anything we need to get better, anything that we need to fix, any little kinks we need to work out, that needs to happen now. Anybody whose confidence is kind of wavering, we've got Stanford and the ACC tournament to get it right. So I want Noah to be that guy who's builds on this last game and takes that momentum and can have another big game tomorrow afternoon.
Yeah, I think that the Stanford game marks the start of, it's the first last, right? Mm-hmm. Like, from now on, and Rain Smith said this, or I guess it was Chucky Hepburn said this after the game on Wednesday night, that from now on, all that's guaranteed is 3 games. That's it, right? So with this team, with how special they are, this is the first step in that journey, right? Yeah. And all that is guaranteed in this journey is that Louisville is playing Stanford on Saturday. They're going to play on day 3 of the ACC tournament, and they're going to play on day 1 or 2 of the NCAA tournament, and that's it. That could be all we have left, Roman. I'm not saying that that's going to happen. I don't think that will happen, but you never know, right?
You never know,
and you have to go into the postseason with that attitude, and that everything else at this point is just, just soak it in, right? Like, that it's just the cherry on top, because it feels like, this season has just flown by, dude. Like, and as there's been less and less, pushback from the opposition, right? Like, you beat Cal 85-68. You beat Pitt by 11. You beat Virginia Tech by 5, but that was kind of a stinker. Beat Florida State by 8. Like, just, you basically won in this stretch, fit by 10 plus. What was it that I came up with the other day? They won by 10 plus like 14 times. Mm-hmm. So it's just like, we're getting into the stretch now where all of a sudden it could just end like that. And I think just as fans, we just need to soak that in, enjoy every moment of it, because, hopefully this is, in our lifetimes, the last first, right? Like, this is the last time that we have to experience this sort of
feelings of why it's been this long since our team has been in a normal spot based on our expectation.
Hopefully this is the last revival.
Yes.
And
yes. At least for a long time.
Right.
At least for a very long time. I know college basketball and sports and the environment and landscape of how college basketball and college sports are going to go is going to continue to waver in the next 10 to 20 years. But No more revivals, please, because as amazing as this is what it should be. The feelings we're feeling right now about this team. Granted, I don't think the ACC should be this bad every year going forward. Hopefully, we can get some, where outside of the top 2 or 3 in the ACC, you're not safe at all. I don't want to be in that kind of situation with the ACC going forward. But we've got to get back to that. You kind of know we're an NCAA tournament team before the last, not needing the ACC tournament to get into the tournament.
Yes. Yeah. I'm just trying to just pause for a second, right? Like I'm trying to let tonight be that. Just enjoy what we have right now. I know it sounds corny and stupid, but we spend so much of our lives talking about this. And then, this is how it works with the modern landscape of sports in general, right? Like, first or second week of April, somebody's going to cut down the nets, and that's going to be, on a Monday night, Tuesday morning, there's going to be articles flying out about the way too early top 25 for next season. It's going to be over just like that. Nobody's going to give a shit who won the national championship. So let's live in this moment right now, because we don't know when we're going to get something like this back, right? And it's, it sounds corny, but we need to appreciate that sentiment, at least in a sense, before we even dive into Stanford. So, just extending some gratitude, as Pat Kelsey would say.
Yes.
Let's talk a little Stanford. The Cardinal, the last ACC team that Louisville hasn't played for now. And then we'll see what happens with conference expansion and all the fun stuff, right? But Louisville, Stanford, Saturday. Any thoughts about the Stanford team? I think things kind of start and end with Maxime Reynaud, right? Like, I 100%. Think that everything goes through this guy, 7'1". Would you call him? I guess he's a forward. He's not really a big man.
He's more of like a big wing, but he's stretch 4, big, oversized 4.
Does a little bit of everything, right? So
plays their big man role for sure.
High volume player, right? Like, we're talking, he has over 100. He has exactly 120 more 2-point attempts than the next closest person on the team. Not only that, but he has almost 40 more 3-point attempts than the next closest player on the team, which, right there, that indicates, this is a dude who he has the ball in his hands a lot. He's going to score a lot, and it's Louisville's job to go out and stop him.
Mm-hmm.
If you were Louisville,
which nobody, I want to point out, I want to say nobody's really done. He's number 1 in the nation in double doubles. 22 double doubles out of however many games they've played. That's ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
And like last game, they scored 54 points. They had a bad shooting night, and he still had 20 and 10. So he's gonna get his. And sorry to interrupt you there at the start of your.
No, you're fine.
The question is going to be, how do you stop that? How do you prevent him from getting on the free throw line? He's a great free throw shooter. Not the best 3-point shooter, but he'll let it fly and he'll knock him down if he's open.
So, I mean, he's shooting almost 34% from 3. I mean, that's, not a joke, right? And a guy that can shoot that well, that is 7'1" with a ridiculous wingspan and just frame in general, that's really difficult, especially for a team like Louisville to guard. So it's going to have to be kind of a team effort, like a concerted team effort. I think you've seen a lot of, in the past, you've seen a lot of, Javon Hadley, Terrence Edwards, or Chucky Hepburn facing the opposing team's best player. But in this instance, this is going to be a guy that, I mean, it's got to be like James Scott, Noah Waterman, maybe Cater Traore. Like, what does that look like from Louisville's perspective? Like, what's the game plan? Obviously, you're not going to shut him down, but what's the game plan to slow him a little bit?
I think you've got to throw multiple bodies at him. You've got to do whatever you can to force jump shots. If we can force 2-point jump shots or 2-point field goal attempts from more than 6 to 8 feet away from the basket. You didn't mention it, and I don't think it's. I think in the wrong scenario, he can score on Javon Hadley. Javon Hadley is not the kind of physical presence.
No.
But at the same time, Javon Halley is top heavy. Javon Halley is able to hold his ground. So Javon, you got to throw everybody at him. You can't let one person just have at him because he's gonna learn that person's tendencies pretty quick, and get around them. Either he's gonna learn what post moves, he's gonna do. He can go floater over Traore. I think he has the strength to kind of get James Scott off of him a little bit, right? If Noah Waterman's on him, we don't want them out on the perimeter because then he can put the ball on the floor. Little stuff like that you just got to throw multiple looks on him so he's never comfortable with who's in front of him. And don't foul. Don't let him be the culprit into getting your team in foul trouble and him keeping Stanford in the game from the free throw line.
Yeah. I mean, the best thing that can happen for Louisville is they go out there and get Raynaud in foul trouble, or they get him flustered and kind of take him out of the game. Outside of Raynaud, I mean, they're not chumps by any means, but he is clear cut, one of the best players in the ACC. Everybody else on the Stanford team they have some solid players, right? Like Jalen Blake's 6'2" guard. He's pretty solid. Chisholm Okpara, Osiah Sellers, Ryan Argwal. That's going to be, you're kind of like core five. Most of the time it's been their starting lineup, right? So those are all guys that, you have to respect. At the same time, though, as a team, they're just okay. They play a very slow it down style offensively, right? So they are 254th in the country in average possession length on offense. They're not that great defensively. So, what are your overall thoughts on this team as we're getting out of here? How do you beat this team? How do you make it a comfortable win? And what do you want to see from Louisville overall?
You beat this team by playing them on your home floor. Is what it.
Yes, that's a great point. Great point.
2025, that seems to be the case here. I think they've won one game in 2025. They kind of seem to be, or not one game
on the road.
One game on the road in 2025. Their shooting is out the window on the road for some reason. I don't know if it's the road trips. I don't know if it's the ACC refs over on this side of the country. I don't know what it is, but they don't get to the free throw line as much. They don't shoot the three nearly as well. So something's happening in road games. I think they're settling for jumpers and not, on the road, you don't get the whistle. You don't get the same whistle. No. Maxime Raynaud probably is not getting the same whistle on these road games. That's not a reason, though, obviously. Yeah. But with that being said, your crowd is going to start with the energy in the building. You've got to have good energy in the building for senior day.
And you will.
This is the last time to watch these guys on your home floor. Yep. I hope this will break the season record for attendance, or at least be a top 3 kind of
get
attendance.
Pretty close. Yeah.
Of a night for us, or afternoon. Sorry, but I think it starts with getting good energy. You coming out with that bounce, coming out with that pep in your step, come out with that assertiveness and that aggression, aggression on both ends of the floor.
Right.
I think in that first half there, right out of the gates, we saw good defensive resistance on the drives, on the ball handlers for Cal. Yeah. I want to see that carried over to tomorrow. Stanford doesn't have a lot of real athletic kind of a slashers outside of the Blake kid. Blake he can get to the bucket, he can get downhill, but outside of that, they don't have a lot. So wall up, defend the paint, help on the Maxime Raynaud, double team when you need to double. Try to see if you can catch him lacking. I hate to say that, but he's one of those guys that he's going to play out of the post. He's going to have one person on him trying to go back to the basket or face up. It's going to be one of those Chucky SWAT games. I want Chucky and Terrence to come in and swat the ball away. See if you can force some turnovers and or get him on foul trouble on the other end. And just don't let Maxime Raynaud beat you. Don't let this team beat you from the free throw line. They're 88 or 89% free throw shooting team. So that's my take. 79. Sorry. Yeah. Is that it?
Yep. 79. That's right. So overall, I can't see this being a game where, if Louisville lost, it would be a bigger shocker than when they lost at the end of the season to South Florida before going on the Final Four run, right? Like, it's this is a game that, you want to see everybody get theirs in a sense, but overall, you want to see Louisville get a win more than anything. You want to see Rain be
get a healthy win.
Healthy. You want to see a healthy Rain. That's right.
You want to see everyone in this game healthy. For sure.
Yes, absolutely. But
which means if you're up 17, 18, 19 with 2:45, 3:20 left to play. Let's see the walk-on.
It's okay to take him out at that point, right?
Let's let Aiden McCool get his first field goal attempt of his college career, man.
Yep. Rain, Cater, Chucky, Fat, Noah. Am I missing anybody? Aiden and Antonelli.
Yeah.
I mean, what a squad, what a group of guys. All of these guys came in for 8 months and completely changed the course of the program, changed the tune and the vibes around the city, revitalized the downtown area. You know, there is so much that they provided for this program in such a short period of time. And most importantly, they were trendsetters, and it could be the start of something massive, right? Could be the start of something huge.
I think it's already proven to be, Presley. I think this is already something massively happening that we're in right now.
Yep.
I think, obviously, we want it to get even more. I think there's a huge gap of how great this can be. But for what we expected, what we thought this team could be, what this team proved to be early on, and what it is now, you can't ask for anything more.
Yep. To finish, I'll quote Andy Bernard from The Office when he said, "Don't you wish you knew that you were in the good old days before you'd already left them?" And that is just a perfect quote to resonate with this team.
These are the new good old days.
These are the good new days.
Good new days, yes.
The good new days. All right, Roman, I appreciate your time.
Yes, sir, Press.
Make sure you follow Roman at Romy Bean and listen to him on the Mike Rutherford Show from 3 to 6 every single, Monday through Friday. They give them off some days.
Yep. 9 to 11 on Saturday mornings with Rashawn Myers for Wake Up 502 if you want to give that a listen as well. We got to get Jake Hook. Jake Hook will be in town, so maybe look for us to do a little maybe something tomorrow if we can.
There you go.
Make something happen. Maybe not. Might catch Jake doing some content at the game. Maybe we'll just have to see.
We'll just have to see, man. We'll see y'all tomorrow. Go Cards.
Go Cards.